Today, we're really excited. We've got Majd from Back to Basics here in the studio. We're so excited to have you here today. And thank you so much for coming from Montreal. I mean, we've been trying to get this done since we last saw you in the fall. And we're so glad that you were able to make the trip. When you said you wanted to come in person, I was totally blown away. I have to admit that. Yeah, I'm like, Luke, he's coming from Montreal to be on the podcast, which we're so excited about because in person, the vibes are good. And so we're really happy to see you again and have you on our show.
We're going to do this right. Plus, look at this production that you guys have going on. How can I miss this? Like, it has to be in person. Plus, the drive is so beautiful. Yeah. Your neighborhood is stunning.
Thank you.
I have to give you that.
And you got good weather, right? It wasn't like raining or windy or any
perfect.
Of that stuff. So
perfect drive.
Appreciate you coming out.
Worth every minute of it.
On his only weekend off.
That's true. Until the new year. Actually, no, you guys got one other one.
Yeah,
That's
one
right.
more.
We have one more. And then it's until the New Year's.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. It was worth it.
And a little backstory. We met you back in the fall at Steph and Mike's wedding. Shout out to them. That was such a beautiful day. And you guys did such an incredible setup. We still rave about you guys. No pun intended. And just how much fun we had. And honestly, we wish that you were pretty much at all of the weddings that we did, because even last week watching DJ Kirky's wedding, I was just having so much FOMO because I knew it looked like such a vibe and such a fun experience. And I don't know if you saw my message, but I was like, I need to be at the next one. I need to meet the best.
The rerun of DJ Kirky's wedding.
No, any other Back to Basics DJ. Just wedding. Like, I want to be there.
Yeah. You're always more than welcome. By the way, big shout out to Erica, who hired us and planned, Stephanie and Michael. That was the first time we met, and I must tell you, I was blown away.
Yeah,
not just by like her work and the decor and how everything came together, but when you guys came in and I saw you guys work, it was incredible to see the drone that was flying.
Inside.
Inside, I was like, wow, how is he flying that thing? And then you went on the mezzanine and you were capturing all the like full view pictures. Yeah. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized, I'm like, these folks operate at a different frequency, and that's the frequency you want to be around. So it's incredible what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
So let's get into it. Before Back to Basics became this beautiful business that it is now, what did you do before?
Yeah, for sure. So I moved to Canada about 12 years ago. And ever since I moved, I realized how vibrant music culture is and events in Montreal. And it was the perfect opportunity to start into that journey of DJing and being an artist. And that's what sort of started the foundation of Back to Basics. So I did my undergrad in finance and accounting, believe it or not, at university. And as I was doing that, I started hosting my own events and playing in event spaces and doing weddings and corporate events. And slowly and surely, I started to realize that we've got something special here that we can create an experience out of, which is where Back to Basics came to be. So it started with a couple of events that were called Back to Basics. And it was a full experience that was focused on the essence of a party, which is bringing people together and making them go through a story from start all the way to finish. And that is the basic of Back to Basic. And believe it or not, right before the pandemic is when we incorporated and we started the actual company, Back to Basics Entertainment. And now it is where it is, let's just say.
So it's always been Back to Basics, has always been your company name?
Exactly, yeah. But we incorporated in 2019, right before the pandemic.
So you weren't a DJ that started like in the clubs, for example, and then kind of made your way to corporate events and things like that? Or?
Well, you could say that too, right? Because I was also DJing under my own name, like DJ Majd. I still do. And that's how I actually started with getting experience in nightlife, but also in events. But for an entity to be hosting its own events and catering to the market, Back to Basics only officially started in 2019.
Gotcha.
And before that, it was just an experience. So it was an actual event that people would come to.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's really cool. I really love that. I think that's really interesting. So you've been doing this for 12 years, you would say?
12 years, yeah.
Okay.
I would say. And the events and the music and the DJing for about 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And COVID was a big turning point, I'm sure, for you guys. Is that when you left your day jobs and you focused full on photography and videography?
Did, yeah.
You did, Lou.
Yeah. I started in 2017, so I quit my full-time after 2 years of doing this kind of part-time, I guess, while I was working full-time. So I did that kind of,
You were the
Double.
in-between.
Yeah,
The double
basically
life.
I was doing 2 full-time jobs, and I got to a point where I'd have to take vacation from my, 9 to 5 job to be able to do weddings or, catch up on editing or do shoots or whatever it was. And I just kind of had to make a decision. It was either one or the other. I couldn't continue doing, working the amount of hours that I was
Right.
doing.
And that's when I think that now is the time to leave, is when you have to take vacation or use your vacation days from your 9 to 5 to actually do the thing you want to be doing, is a good signal for you to be like, okay.
Yeah.
And Luke, what about you? When did you,
You
you were working at the government.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
we actually both worked in the same department before
Okay.
she left.
So cute.
A lot of people ask if that's where we met, but no, we met before that. She just ended up getting in after I did, and I went full time in 2021. So I was meant to go full time in 2020, but obviously the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I was on paternity leave with the twins still from 2018, and then I was gonna quit my job in 2020. The pandemic hit. I called my work and I was like, I need to come back. So they sent me a laptop. They mailed me my laptop, and I worked from home for a year. And then 2021 is when I made the switch to full time.
Yeah. And we decided that because like he was already home, right? Like, so really, like, even though I quit in 2017, he's been home since 2018, like he just with the twins. And then, he worked from home. So it really feels like you've been around longer than that. Though. When you say 2021, it doesn't feel like it's.
Doesn't feel like 2020.
No.
Yeah.
And people ask, how do you create a business and have such young children and things like that? But I don't know any different. Like, we had the young kids when we pretty much launched our business. So that's
Everything is norm for
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
The kids, the business,
Yeah.
the pandemic, being at home,
Yeah.
multitasking and juggling both.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Hey, I got to give you guys your flowers too, because I know a lot of partners in the industry and how hard it is for partners to be in the same industry, but to be in the same company and to work together and to build a family and a beautiful home like you guys have is absolutely incredible. So I hope you realize that what you've accomplished is nothing short of ordinary. What's even nicer, and we just read this in the car driving here, is that you gifted Bethany her first camera.
correct.
When your firstborn came
Yeah.
to life, right? And to have a partner that not only believes in your skills and in your talent before you even start and embark on the journey is a true blessing. So I hope you know that what you guys
Thank
have is
you.
incredibly
Thank
special.
you.
Yeah, I begged for it. I was like, I just,
begged for
I just really want a good camera to take photos of my baby, Like I just wanted a really nice camera. I mean, and back then this is like an $800 Costco camera.
So I was going to ask you, was it a nice camera
I
or
mean,
it was like a...
for me, yeah, right? Like $800 on a thing that you're just gonna, you know what I mean? It was a lot of money at the time. So, yeah. And then I just started taking
Just for
photos.
baby pictures.
Yeah, just
Fair.
to take photos of our family or my baby, whatever. And then once I started, though, I couldn't stop. Especially once you start making money. I like making money.
You know what? When you get your first pay from the thing you love doing and your, call it side hustle, when you have a 9 to 5, is when you start to realize how real things can be, right? And that's when you're like, there's something here. I need to go down this path and see where it goes.
Yeah.
The curiosity starts to ramp up a little bit more, and that's when you should just go all in and see where it goes. Because then,
Yeah.
if you don't, then you're always gonna think, what could have happened had I done it?
Yeah, especially once you're like, you realize you're good. I think that's the hardest part at first
Yeah.
is like you think you're good, but when you're not really that great, like if I look at my earlier stuff, I'm like, I mean, I was okay for what I was, a beginner, right? But at the time you think that you're, all that, but really it takes time. And I think that was probably the biggest hurdle, was realizing that I was actually really good at it and I could charge really good money for what I was doing as well.
For me, it's as creatives, the business side is always the side that we struggle with, right? Like, how do you sell yourself? Like, you're good, but how do you convince other people of what you do? So on that note,
Yeah.
so how did you turn back to basics into, like, now it's a team and you have people with you? So when did you make that switch, when you're like, oh, well, I can only do so much by myself, or I want to focus on certain things? So when did you start hiring others to help you?
So I would tell you the pandemic was a big turning point, as I'm sure it was for you and everybody in the industry. When we incorporated in 2019, it was just me and another person that was working with me at the time. And we wanted to get into the events industry with the brand Back to Basics and to stop doing events under our personal names. And then the pandemic hit. And all of a sudden you're looking around and all your bookings get canceled or they get moved for an undetermined date.
Yeah.
And you're losing revenue, you're losing deposits. We were refunding deposits at the time just because we felt like we need to come together as a community, so we can't withhold deposits. Even if it's uncertain for everybody. And we took a step back and started to analyze things. And that's when I realized this is actually the time to double down, because the market is stale, nobody's booking events, but everybody's online. And that's when you can invest in social media marketing and just push your brand out as much as possible, so that when the market recovers after the pandemic, you can come out very, very strong and create a lot of momentum that can push you for the years coming right after the pandemic. And so I invested heavily in marketing, SEOs, SMOs, social media marketing. We were very, very present. And even though events weren't happening, the brand was getting a lot of traction. And so people were associating Back to Basics with an experience that they want to have at their events, whether it's a wedding or a corporate event. And coming out of the pandemic, we, at the tail end of 2021, I believe, we did 16 events, which is where the pandemic was slowing down. But 2022 was that year that we were building up for. And that's when we ramped up to 60, 70 events that year. And then from there on onwards, 2023 was even bigger. And now this year, it's a lot bigger than the year before. So to summarize everything, the turning point was the pandemic, where we just invested heavily in marketing. And that also led to us investing in people, like the awesome team that we have, slowly growing the brand and our supporting staff. So that way, when the big year of 2022 happened, we were actually ready to handle that volume of demand and then build on top of it in 23 and 24.
That's so cool.
Smart move.
Yeah. We kind of did the same thing. We just went heavy. I mean, that's really where the bread and butter is, I think, of our business is, we track where all of our leads come from. So we know like what's coming from Google, what's coming from Instagram, what's coming from referral. Like that's kind of our main, I would say our bread and butter is those three. So we get, Google, Instagram, not really Facebook, but maybe, I think it's kind of the same. And then vendor referral. So we really focused as well getting on venue lists. So that's really where we've kind of gotten one step up ahead of people, because now we've got all these venues that recommend us, right? And so it's a direct line where it says, yeah, we trust this video team, and here's all their work that they've done here. Like it's such an easy sell once you've done that. So yeah, kudos. That's the same thing that we did. And we really saw the same thing, a huge uptick. Obviously, kind of there was some postponing happening in there. So I feel like the numbers are a little inflated, but still very, very busy for 2021, 22, 23, even 24 is still pretty decent to think about. But, I was curious, how many weddings do you do now? Like, what are you doing for 2024?
So just before I answer that, I think on one of the podcasts, you mentioned how much of a gold mine social media is. And a lot of companies are missing out on it. And it's funny to still be saying that in 2024, when I'm looking at the industry and I'm looking at our market and our partners. The ones that are standing out are the ones that are doing exactly what you guys are doing, which is telling the story, bringing people behind the scenes and showing them who are the people that are running this company, that you're trusting them with your big day. So kudos to you guys for really doubling down on that. It shows.
Yeah.
And it builds trust and credibility even before getting to work with you. And then working together is just that seal of, everything I've seen and everything they've shown is real and is tangible, and the product speaks for itself at the end. So beyond a doubt, it's critical.
But we see that mirror with you. Like we see all your behind the scenes. And I love that you got a mic. And actually I have a funny story, because I guess maybe you and Erica were chatting about microphones, and we've been really trying to convince her to get this mic because it's so good, right? Yeah. And I guess apparently you have tried a couple and they were garbage. And
so what's funny, Erica was talking to Mireille, and shout out Mireille, who's here. Mireille runs all our social media and our back office. So the operations of the company are actually on Mireille's shoulder. Without her, we would crumble to pieces. And she was talking to Erica, and Erica said, you guys recommended this mic. I didn't even look at what the mic was. I said, if they recommended the microphone, we're getting that microphone right away.
It is good, right?
It's phenomenal. Right? The audio quality is incredible. Music to my ears. Weddings this year. So we're tracking up for 53 weddings in 2024. We're tracking up for 53 weddings this year, and about another 50 private events. which are corporate events, end of year parties, 5 sets, cocktails, or any activations that brands have to do where they need AV or music or entertainment. So we're tracking to about 100 events this year, which is an absolute blessing.
And how many DJs do you have on your team?
So we are 4 DJs total. There's Kirky, myself, Khaled or DJ Cloud, and then there's Jason. Jason and Khaled joined us this year, and then Kirky joined us last year as his first full year in the company.
Okay.
So
yeah, I saw DJ
DJs
Cloud
total.
on some of your stories. I was like, oh, I like that name. It's such a like catchy name.
And you know what? Funny enough, so he was a DJ in Ottawa and he just moved to Montreal.
Oh.
So he's been DJing for years, and then he messaged us and he said, I love your work. And we have a big process just to bring somebody and to onboard them onto the company. It's a very, very rigorous process with a lot of training and quality checks. And the guys know how intense it is. But that's how you can maintain the quality product that you have. And to have people that believe in that vision and say, I want to be a part of this and I want to do the work and I want to create something special here is a true blessing. So shout out to everybody that works behind the scenes. So there's four of us, but there's also 2 MCs that work with us also on a full-time basis. And there's about 10 techs that do our setups, our install, our transport that are still part of the company. Primarily George and Adele. I'm sure you guys have seen them on Instagram. We post them a lot because they represent that side of the team. And then there's the back office with Mireille and the people that help us with our social media content as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But when you're doing 100, that's a lot, right? Like,
you need to have the infrastructure. It's the most important thing.
So did you find that throughout, since 2019, especially through the pandemic, have you found that you've had to like readjust pricing? I'm curious about that part because, sometimes it's like, okay, we did 75 events, but we didn't really make a lot because it was like, we're just trying to get our name out. I'm curious, income-wise, do you find that anything has changed or have you just, gradually upped it? I know that that's been similar for us. Is like, as we got really busy, we just kept upping our prices. So I'm curious in your industry if that was similar.
I mean, inflation is real. And funny enough, whenever we talk to customers and they say, but a couple last year got a different price and they're friends, how come we're paying more? It's always a sensitive conversation, but our costs are going up. Like our direct material, whether it's be CO2 that we use at events or cold sparks powder or even labor, everything has gone up. Our storage has gone up, our transport costs have gone up, and we're getting hit with 10 to 20% price increases just on cost. So even if we were to simply follow the inflation curve, we're nowhere near what the inflation curve is, right? So we try to absorb a lot of these costs and optimize the way we operate just so that we don't carry on that increase on the clients, because it's a big expense, especially hiring an entertainment company. So raising your prices by 10 to 20% is a massive hit on couples getting married, especially in the economy that we're in today. So we're very aware, we're cautious of it. The best way to control as much as possible is, yes, the prices have to increase, but we try to increase them within reason. And if we're increasing them beyond their cost, is because we're investing into something, whether it's an extra layer of wow factor with the lighting design that we have that comes with a $30,000 investment in equipment or in programming. Well, then we have a better product. So with a better product, you can increase the price a little bit more and you can justify it. You can say, look what we're doing here. We're offering this A-level experience of lighting, but that comes with a bigger price tag, let's say. So it's within reason.
Okay. So you just kind of looked at trying to add more value to kind of make up for the difference, essentially, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We see that too. We've done little things, not quite a $30,000 equipment type of increase, but we've definitely added, little like extra steps, right? Whether it's just more attention to detail on the process or, looking at inspiration or just adding, tips and tricks that people can use to help make their wedding day go smoothly. And I feel like that's a really good thing to do as well.
What did you invest in or diversify in your portfolio as a photographer, videographer company? Because I find it's a little bit more limited, but have you diversified into something else or a different service that is helping you add more value to your customer base?
I mean, I think we kind of did a lot of that at the beginning where we put a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of prep work. I feel like with you guys, it's like there's a lot of prep work. And then on the day of, you do your performance and that's it. For us, it's like there's a lot of prep work. We do our performance for the day. And then there's a bunch of homework, right? So for us, I feel like really educating clients has been a huge game changer for us. So the podcast, I would say, is for sure huge. We have an email list that we usually send out like tips and tricks, blogging. YouTube has also been really helpful as well. But so that's kind of, like you said, it's limiting. There's not a ton of things that you can really, like we've done like a magazine. Like that was a big thing that we did last year where we printed this whole magazine. It had like 100 pages.
That's awesome.
And it was just like tips and tricks on how they can prepare for their weddings. And that's something that we include. We include like a welcome box that has a bunch of gifts and things. But yeah,
the magazine is outside of just photography, like everything to do with wedding prep.
Wedding,
Correct,
yeah, like photography
like
wise.
how to dress for your engagement session.
We have one. I can show you after.
That's incredible. Nobody's ever done that.
No, I don't know. Well, I know there are people that do it, but I don't know. You know what I mean? For us,
nobody
it was
that
more,
I know
yeah.
has ever done that. At least in our market.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So we try to look at that whole process because for us, it's we only get one chance, and you know the same thing, right? We only get one shot, especially when it comes to photo and video.
No pun intended.
Yeah, literally one shot. But there's only really that. Right. So a lot of education goes a long way, I find, in our business. And then something that's new, which you might have seen a little bit recently, is we started teaching other photographers as well.
Okay.
So that's something that's a new venture for us this year.
Are you trying to grow the team?
It's not necessarily for the team growing. It's really just to teach and, have another revenue avenue.
Like doing
that
mentoring.
Way.
Mentoring and
coaching,
teaching. Because we found that there's a lot of people in the Facebook groups asking, how can I get experience as a wedding photographer? Obviously, anyone with a camera. Weddings is probably one of the most lucrative fields. Same with probably DJing. Like weddings is kind of where you can charge a whole bunch and make the most money. And not a lot of people can teach it, especially on a wedding day. You're not going to be like, okay, well, just stand next to me and I guess just watch me. A lot of people want you to hire them as a second shooter. And but if they've never shot a wedding, like how can I trust them to use their photos
with important parts of the day, right?
100%.
So essentially we're doing these little workshops and teaching people, okay, we're going to take this couple, bride and groom, and we're going to go downtown and just show you the places we use if you have a venue down there as a photographer. And then they're allowed to use the photos in their own portfolios as well, whatever they take.
And they don't have the connections with the venues that we do, right? So that's another thing, is that we have these really great connections and relationships, right? Again, like you said, investing in all that social media, like that was something we did through the pandemic, is we went and helped venues, like, let's create content, let's do all this, let's, whatever it is, let's get on the podcast, whatever we can do to help again, right? So when things do take off, we're all ready, right? And so this is what we're trying to do now. And it's something we've wanted to do, but as you know, for the last few years, it's been insane. We haven't had a chance to do it.
But it's so incredible because not only did you create a separate stream of income, but you're also giving something of extreme value, which is mentorship. That is very rare in the industry because everybody's always competing and there's a higher drive of competition in our industry specifically. But when you create this collaborative culture where you're mentoring and you're bringing people up, it doubles down later on and it brings you back the return of all the time that you're investing, but it also gives back to a whole community and a new generation of people that are going to come and lead in the industry. That's just simply incredible.
Yeah, and we didn't have that, right? When I started, I was
going to ask you, was there anybody that ever mentored you or gave you input? Nothing. Yeah.
No, I mean, I hired business coach for a while, but she wasn't in the wedding industry or whatever. And business coach for me has always been really helpful and really kind of getting you to that next level.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the same thing, but very, very direct for people who are very interested in this specific niche, which is weddings, right? Where a lot of people like to hold all their cards and like not show them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you're going to steal my clients. When I don't think that that's really what's going to happen.
You know what? Your feedback and your mentorship to that person is so valuable because not only are you in the same industry, but you're also just a couple of steps ahead of them on their journey. So when you give them feedback, you're hearing from them where they are and you know exactly what to tell them because that's exactly where you were. And the steps that you took right after that point is so valuable for them because they can apply it the next day.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this on the way here, and just last year, I think I had my very first mentorship meeting, which is with somebody in the same industry in New York.
Nice. That
I was referred to by a friend. And I didn't really know what to expect, but I was very open to it. And I've been looking for someone that I can aspire to be or somebody that can be a mentor. And I said, let's fly and let's do this meeting because I know the value that's going to come out of it for sure is going to be something I've never gotten before. And believe it or not, I had to explain where I am in the business for 2 minutes, and this person was able to give me input and feedback of the next 5 steps we need to take. And as soon as we took step 1 of this 5 steps, the first of all, tripled the income on one event just by applying their advice onto that event, and then set the foundation for other streams of revenues and other ways of doing things that are different than the way we were doing things just before this meeting.
Yeah.
So the feedback created an impact that is almost instantaneous, simply because this person has been through this. So if somebody's listening to this and they know somebody that can be a mentor, I cannot stress how important it is to find somebody right away. And even if they have to pay, or if they have to travel, or if they have to go meet them where they are, the value is unimaginably more than what anybody can expect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The way that you talk about mentoring, I was going to ask, do you have a mentor, or have you mentored anyone in the past? So
yeah. Like, what about when you first started? I'm actually curious. Did you ever have anybody help you like learn how to DJ or like run a business? Like, how did you know what I mean? Because that's in itself is all very,
It's
encompassing, right?
Yeah.
It's not intuitive, especially if you're a creative person. I feel like that's probably the majority of people who get into this industry are very creative. They're not business minded people, right? They don't look at it from that perspective. They're passionate about it. Obviously they want to pay the bills, but it's like their passion outweighs that money sometimes, right? And
the business acumen of things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it's a big thing that you're noticing with a lot of companies that are focused on the art, rightfully so, right? Because that's where things started, and that's where the passion is. But the business acumen is most of the time not there, and they're always stuck wondering, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
For me, I think it was twofold. The first one, the people I was working with and the other companies that used to hire me under my personal name before Back to Basics came to be were established companies. So simply observing and being a sponge and trying to capture things that they were doing and imagining in your head, how would you do it? If the same, if not different, not better or worse, but just adding your own touch to it is already step 1 in the process. So surrounding yourself by people that are ahead of you, working for them, learning from them, asking for feedback, asking for input is already a great step, even before or without having a mentor.
Yeah.
The second piece I would tell you with my degree and my professional career that still exists on the side, and not a lot of people know about it, it's very much focused on having a business acumen and applying that on the day-to-day basis. So I learned from that and I apply it onto Back to Basics, just like I learned from Back to Basics and I apply it in my career. But that interchange between my duality is what allows me to focus and grow the business side of Back to Basics.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, we see like that's probably the major hurdle for most people is that they love it so much they'll do it until they get burnt out. And the reason they get burnt out, and I mean, we've both been burnout victims before, the process of learning how to charge properly and working with a clientele as well. You know what I'm talking about once you start charging a certain amount and you're not charging $800 to go for a DJ for, 8 hours.
The expectation is different.
Yeah, you're not dealing with the people who are upset because you didn't play this one song, or you know what I mean. I'm trying to figure out what people would complain about.
I know exactly what you mean.
But the idea is that once you get to that level and you start charging that, it's very hard for you to ever say, I'm going to go back to charging less, right? Because you know what that means. It means it's going to be harder. It's going to be difficult. They're going to give you a hard time. They're going to negotiate on pennies, basically. And it's just not going to be the process that you really want to have, right? Like, again, that passion has to come through. And it's very hard when you feel like you're not appreciated, right? And I think that's the hardest part as creatives, is really not to kind of keep going at the rate in which you feel like you're not appreciated, right? So,
But I would tell you that's when you start growing, right? Because growth and uncomfort don't coexist. So unless you put yourself in these situations where you're dealing with first a target market that is expecting perfection, because one, you're charging for it and you're known for it, but also the expectation is there simply because that's the caliber of the events that you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you start to feel uncomfortable is when if you take a step back and look into the business and what you're doing, that's when you're growing tremendously, right? And a lot of people are even afraid of being there because they're happy with the $800 invoice and that sort of that market and what that offering stands for, which is more than fine, right? There's a market and there's a vendor for everything. But then where you're positioned and you're going for the high ticket super premium experience where the expectation is really high and there's absolutely no room for errors, that's where the growth really, really happens. And it's incredible, right? It's such a rewarding feeling when you finish and you're like, okay, we got the invoice, we got the money, but let's talk about the experience that we just went through and how much growth did we just accomplish in this event. It's a rewarding feeling.
You ever do like postmortems where you would get together with your team and just talk about, what happened and how to avoid certain situations or how you can improve something?
Yeah, there's 2 postmortems that we do. We don't call them postmortems, but they actually happen. So there's one right after the event. So let's say we stop music at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. depending on the venue. Then we sit down together for at least an hour and a half. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
The same night.
The same night. So while our tech folks come in and they start unloading, the performers, so Kirky, Khaled, Jason, or other vendors that we partner up with, we sit down and we run through the whole night. What happened here? What happened here? How did we act here? How did we behave on this? Feedback, thoughts, comments. How did the night go? And then we have that dialogue because it's so important and it's so fresh. And we always ask this one question: if you were a guest at this event and you left, you finished the night, what are you saying in the car? Did you say that was the best event of my life? And if you didn't, then why? Because your couple or the company that hires you, yes, they're the client, but they're hiring you to take care of their guests. So the guest experience is just as important as the couple or the company's experience, because that's what you're hired for, especially as an entertainment company. So we try to encompass the entirety of the experience and see the gaps that happen throughout the night and how can we fix them for the next one. And then the second postmortem happens a couple of days after, because we take the time to call the couples or the client and we try to capture their feedback. If there's anything that they didn't like or something they would have liked us to do better or differently, then we capture that. But we also capture the positive because it's so important, often forgotten. But the positive is really, really key because it's the impact of your work. All the practice that you do leading up to the event. Like you said, we do so much work before the event that we simply perform on the day of the event, and then after there's nothing. But what can speak to all that work that happened before and the event itself? Well, that's the feedback you get. So that's the 2 postmortems. For you, I can only imagine, because you're editing for so long after the event, when does that postmortem happen?
Well, we have a tradition after every wedding because we have a hot tub.
Okay.
So we sit in our hot tub. We usually grab a drink and we digest.
Sometimes 2 drinks, depending on the wedding.
But it's kind of our hot tub ritual where we just go, okay, what happened today? Or like, this went really well, or this was not so good. How do we, same thing. How do we get better?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit different in the sense of like your jobs kind of really start once we leave for the most part. It's kind of sad when you think about it. That's probably our favorite part of the night is when people start partying. But usually by that time we're so exhausted because we've been going since, 11 a.m. and running around in the sun. And I usually say once I sit down for dinner, that's when I feel like I can actually relax, but up until that point, that's usually 7, 8 o'clock. I haven't stopped, So for us, that happens in the hot tub, and we'll usually just go through everything. As we're editing as well, we always pick up on stuff, right? Because we do have a team as well that we work with. Yeah. And so we have to say like, oh, you know what, I would have done this better, or, maybe don't do this next time, or what were you doing here? Like there's always some kind of thing, but we've been really lucky that we've had some of the same team members since 2020. And so there's a lot less through that growing curve of 2022, 2023, where there was just a lot of events. It meant that there was less photographers because they were also very busy.
Yes.
So sometimes we'd have to work with a brand new team member, and that comes with its challenges, which we've definitely talked about on this podcast a lot. But the idea is that we love working with the people who really have put a lot of time in, know what we're looking for, know the quality that we're trying to deliver. I'm sure with you, like once you've worked with somebody a number of times, they just know. Like you might even ask them, be like, oh, did you do this? And they'll just be like, because
I know,
right? Like, and you're just like, okay. But then it gets to a point where you're not having to ask them anymore. Yeah. And that is like the best part, I have to say. Like it really is the best part when you can go, okay, like
I can loosen up a little bit.
Yeah.
My checklist is getting checked without even having to follow up on it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And sometimes I'll just literally look at them and then I'm just like, and I'll like point and they're like,
I give a lot of thumbs up on a wedding day. Look over, thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, we're good.
For Stephanie and Michael, it wasn't just you two.
Yeah, we had 3 others.
You had 3 others. So Kirky and I were talking about this. The way everybody was moving, it felt like a video game. It didn't feel real because you weren't communicating, well, at least not verbally, because it was during ceremony. And we were just watching you guys move, and it was like a dance because you were coming in from the left, you were coming in from the right, and somebody was in the middle, and somebody was in the corner, and then there was this. It was a beautifully orchestrated photography session, and you looked invisible.
Oh, wow.
Because you blended in so seamlessly. But that's when like for sure you've worked with these folks a million times before that they understand. Right?
Yeah.
They understand what this dance is, and they can perform without you having to say, go here, do this, capture this.
And that's why we like to work together. Like that is like literally the number one selling point. I mean, you've worked at a lot of weddings where probably the photo and video team are not necessarily on the same team, right?
Yes.
They're hired differently. And there can be a lot of challenges with that. And so for us, you just don't see that because we're all working together and they know what we're trying to achieve. We have a kind of a pre-game meeting before our weddings where we talk about all of the things that we want and the angles and that kind of stuff. So if anything, we're actually probably 10 times better because we can really help each other too.
Yeah.
And one thing to note as well is I also do video and Luke also does photo. So we both understand both perspectives,
Right.
whereas most people don't, right? You don't really see a lot of photographers shooting video and you don't really see a lot of video guys doing photos. And so they butt. And so that's really where the magic happens, I think, in our company is that we really understand where there's meant to be more video attention or more video focus and where there's meant to be more photo focus because we really understand the whole dynamic of a day so that way nothing is getting missed and nobody is feeling like they're getting like a subpar product because there's not going to be a photographer standing in the way.
Right.
There's not going to be like weird angles and stuff like that because we're all working together.
So say, to double click on that, when you're offering that to your clients, do you offer them as separate services and you say we have videography, we have photography? Or do you say we have one that does both? And pricing wise, is it less because you've got both, or is it more because you've got 2 that work together?
We do give a small
cohesiveness?
discount for doing both, mostly because we want to work together.
Yeah.
It's an incentive for somebody not to hire us for photo and then go somewhere else for video.
Agreed. By the way, congrats on having so many amazing reviews. And thank you for leaving us a review. Are you kidding me? That was very, very nice of you. With pictures. That was key.
The pictures are key. We kind of promote that within our clients because it's so much better when they leave pictures.
Yeah.
So we'll always say like, please include a few photos. So that's why it's always really important when you ask for the review that you've sent the photos. So that's our process.
On the back end, it's also kind of like a marketing gig for us because people look at your reviews, and then we'll be like, oh, these are really nice photos under your reviews. And they'll be like, who's the photographer?
I didn't think of it that way. So you know what? I'm going to start leaving reviews and leave a mixtape linked. Hey, here's a mixtape that reminded me of you.
Yeah, exactly. Or here is the night, like the set
Here's
of
the
the
night's
night.
mixtape.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I've got a marketing brain, so.
Hey, maybe we can turn off the podcast and do this brainstorm session where we just shoot ideas at each other.
I mean, we've got what, 3 now? Is that 3
We
ideas?
have the glasses. We have the night's mixtape. The magazine we're not going to do because, God, the patience that took you to put that together. Bless you. What's your take on the new trend of day of coordinators? Not day of coordinators.
Content creators.
Day of content creators. What's your take?
I mean, there's room for everybody at the table. Yeah, I think that's the thing. The education piece is really key in this, is that they're not recording the whole 30-minute ceremony.
Right.
They're recording 30-second clips. Like, I think people think, oh, this is just a cheaper video option, but it's not.
No, it's not. It scares me when you say that some people actually think it is.
Of course they do.
It should not be a cheaper videography
because
option.
everybody has a phone, right? So anybody can do it, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not. It's like saying I'm gonna put a playlist on Spotify, and not hire a DJ for my big day. That freaks me out when I hear that. I'm like,
it freaks me out. Okay, God. It freaks you out. Imagine me, like we're not getting a DJ, and I'm like, why? like, why not? This is going to be terrible.
I've
know
always
this.
said, if you have a dance floor, and even if you don't, if you are looking to dance at the event, you need a DJ.
Yeah.
You
100%.
cannot manage with a Spotify. I cannot manage with a Spotify playlist.
No.
A friend of mine was planning his partner's 40th birthday just a couple of weeks ago, and he called me and he's like, "Can you make me a Spotify playlist?" So, well, one, no, because there's no time. But why do you want a playlist? He's like, well, we're just 50 people and it's her 40th. And I'm like, that's 49 more people than the reason why you need a Spotify playlist. You should definitely get a DJ. And then I spoke to him and he's like, they're not going to dance. I'm like, a DJ will make them dance because you're creating that experience. And if you hire the right one, then for sure they're going to dance. They're going to have a great time. Spoke to him for a bit, sold him on the idea. And he's like, I trust you. Let's do it.
Okay.
So Kirky actually goes. And at the beginning, Kirky calls and he's like, he came to speak to me and he said, nobody's going to dance. And I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, what do you think I think? Of course they're going to dance. Party starts and they end up leaving at 2:30 in the morning when they were supposed to leave at 10. My buddy calls me after. He's like, best day of my life.
Oh.
And I'm like, what made it? He's like, Kirky.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's exactly why you always need a DJ, because you're putting so much effort into bringing people together. There's alcohol, there's food, there's activities happening. The kids are already with the sitter. These people came out to party.
Yeah.
Right? You need somebody to orchestrate that party. And that's what a DJ does, essentially. That's the basics and the essence of a DJ is how do you create the party? How do you make sure people have a good time?
It's back to basics. Sorry.
You weren't going to say it either.
Yeah.
So.
You said it
I'm
and I was
going to
like,
take
oh.
that and make it a button as a voiceover whenever we DJ before the drop. It's back to basics.
With my voice.
With your voice. And then it just bangs.
Back.
Ooh, I like that.
TM, do I have to give you royalties now every time we play?
I mean,
we'll give
it's just
you- we'll
shout
give you
outs
this
every
one.
time.
Yeah.
Grey Loft Studio.
You can do that. Back to basics. Great Loft Studio.
Subliminal messaging.
There you go. Done.
I love
I'm
it.
down for it.
I actually wanted to get back into understanding for you if there's been any challenges. I'm curious. I know that we've talked a little bit about the pandemic and that was kind of a challenge, but also you spin it into a positive. But I'm curious, has there been any kind of, pivots that you've had to make in your career that, maybe you weren't expecting that really kind of, threw you? We have some of those, so I'm sure everybody does.
I would tell you, when you start to bring people onto the company, the challenge becomes how do you make sure the quality that you've promised everybody that you're delivering still remains the same. And so the amount of effort that it takes, because you think of it as a nuisance, like it's natural. You're gonna come and join back to basics and you're gonna deliver just the way we've been delivering for years. But every person that comes on, regardless of their role, right? It could be the person setting up, it could be the person driving the truck, could be the person running the emails and the marketing. There's a enormous amount of work that has to happen to onboard that person, to allow them the opportunity to understand the culture and the values and the mission of the company, but also to embody those and add their own flavor to it, and then launch themselves onto our clientele is an incredibly challenging process, because you're dealing with different people, you're dealing with different mindsets, you're dealing with different personalities. So the approach for each individual is so different. And the larger the team, and the more you start to onboard, the more you start to realize, oh my God, this is going to be a process from scratch just to bring this person up to speed to where they can actually go on their own and do the role that they're intending to do.
Yeah.
So it's a good problem because you're growing, but it's a challenge in itself. How do you make sure everybody is equipped well enough to do the job, and to do the job the back to basics way, which is even another challenge and another layer on top of what they're supposed to be doing to begin with. That's a big challenge.
I'm curious, when you sell a package, we're a couple getting married.
Yeah.
We want to have a good party. Well, do we get to choose, or do you kind of say it'll be our team and then we decide based on X, Y, Z?
The most important thing is understanding what is the story that this couple is trying to tell with their event, or this company is trying to tell with their end of year party. And then once we have an understanding of what the story is, then we can try to tell it our own way with the technology that we have and with the entertainment and the individuals that we have. So it starts with understanding their need, the experience they're trying to create, And then it's us recommending, here's how we believe we can complement or make your story come to life. Or if you don't have a story, here's the story we'll tell with your event, and here's what we need. And so our recommendation will be, this is the package that we would recommend you get, and here's the price associated with it. And then you start having a discussion around, okay, do I need this? Or maybe this is an area I want to go even double down on because I love it so much and I think more is going to leave a bigger impact. So it's stepping away from the package world into what are we trying to communicate and have people experience? And then what do we need from a package perspective that will allow us to create that experience and that feeling and tell that story? And I think that's just a nicer way of being able to service the market.
Businesses matured so fast through COVID. I think that was a
100%.
huge, because we spoke with another person that modern photo booth. She was also at the wedding, Catalina. And photo booths were also just like, what are you going to do during COVID? Nobody's having events. Same as DJs. Like I felt so bad for any DJs because they were the last ones to be brought back. Like we were still shooting like 10-person weddings. So at least there's still something we could do. But DJs, there was no events.
Absolutely nothing.
Unless you were like DJing, like with streaming. And I saw that happen a little bit. But the way she pivoted is she started doing like online photo booths.
Yeah.
And it was kind of crazy to me that like she even thought about that. And like it was just so innovative and people ate it up. But also she invested a lot on growing her business on the social media side. And then when things opened up, like she already had so many people just so hungry. Right?
Can we talk about how awesome her Instagram is?
Yeah,
it's great.
She's really good.
And so I had followed her page years ago.
Okay.
Just because we were dipping our toes into the photo booth, video booth industry. So I was looking at who's doing what and who's really standing out and how are they doing it. We never really doubled down on that, but she was one of the first people that showed up on our radar. I'm like, wow, and this is in Ottawa? That's incredible. Like that's right down there. This is amazing. How can we do this? And we were trying to figure it out and we never did because you can't. It's just, it takes so much. It takes a village.
She has a course.
She has a course. Okay. It's incredible. And then when we got to meet her for the first time at the wedding we did together last year, and you saw the quality of the work, whether it's the setup, the people that were there, the way they were catering to us when we got onto the video booth, the instruction clarity, the quality of the video that came out. And I think she had a photo booth outside too, and she had different
like
activations.
3 or 4 different ones.
That was incredible. Yeah. And everything was running to perfection, right? So that's when you make the tie-in between here's what I'm seeing on social media and then here's the actual product and service on the day of. And when both coexist and the quality that you're seeing here is not fake, it's not made up, it's real, and here's the delivery of it, that's when you know, okay, that person is onto something and they've put in so much time into their baby that it's worth it.
It was such a stacked vendor team. Now that you're saying it, like what a vendor team we were. Like, anyways, it just like hit me where I'm like, oh yeah, like Kat, you guys are really good. Yeah, we're really good. Jeff was really good. Erica's really good. Wed Decor, Chateau Laurier. It's just like, wow, such a stacked team.
Everything. And this was our first time. I think this was our very first like Ottawa wedding.
We obviously were at Steph and Mike's and you guys did a fantastic job of trying to keep people like on the dance floor, but it wasn't a huge dancey crowd. You had a few of us, some us included.
You guys were heavy dancers.
Yeah, because we like to party.
And then Kirky was like, is that the photographer, videographer at the wedding getting it down on the dance floor? I'm like, yeah, man, awesome. Let's go. Because you don't see that often.
No.
And it's amazing. You're there. Like you're part of the fun. Mm-hmm. So when you're actually in it and you're enjoying yourselves, one, the product is so much better. Yeah. And the relationship you create with the couple is beyond imaginable.
Yeah. No, anyways, we love a good party. So your stuff looks really fun. I mean, like I said, if there's anybody who wants to have us come to Montreal, we totally would. But like I said, we'll definitely need a hotel room overnight because we are not driving back. So. And
you would kick ass in Montreal.
I think so too.
Your work is so beautiful. Just the pictures, and trust me, your pictures are ones I've been through. All of them from the prep in the morning with the heels and the shoes and the cigars and all that to all the way at the end with the CO2 and the jumping and everybody's getting rowdy on the dance floor. I've gone through all the pictures and by far one of my faves.
Oh.
Yeah. The clarity of the pictures is beautiful. And it's one thing I remember when you guys showed up and we had never met.
No.
And I just hear Bethany go, we need to turn off these lights, these DJ lights. We need to turn them off. Turn them off.
I know.
Okay, all right.
I'm
And
a little
us that
abrasive.
spent like tens of thousands on lighting, we're like, okay, Kirk, let's go turn off the lights. No problem. Turn off the lights. And then you take the picture. I'm telling Kirk, I want to see what these pictures are going to look like because we just turned off all our lighting and it's just white. But then when you look at the pictures, the clarity and the crispness of the detail, I don't know if I'm using the right terms
No,
here,
it's right. Yeah.
but it's so clear.
Yeah.
And it's vivid and the colors are clear and they're shining at you from the picture. It's incredible. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get why she asked for the lights to be off and nothing to be moving, and she just wants natural light to get that quality picture. And then later on as the night progresses, then
I know.
one thing obviously we're hyper aware of is you want to make sure lighting is always either warm white or white, especially from beginning all the way till 10:30, 11 before the party
Yeah.
actually kicks into fifth gear and then you're going all out. Then the colors can start to come out.
Yeah.
But back to your timeless point at the beginning, if you start using colorful lighting at the beginning of the evening, you're, I say, ruining the pictures a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the pictures are not
Well,
going
if
to be
they've got like a
timeless.
green speck
That's
on their
it.
face and purple here, like it's
And-
not.
or it's a dot or like a gobo or some shape that's on their, like on
or
them for this
especially on the
first
dress
dance.
or whatever. Like to me, it's just like for first dance, for family, like parent dances, those to me, like grand entrance, have at her, you know, party scenes, have at her. But like the first dance and the parent dances for us, we like it to be clear.
Absolutely.
Have I seen what your lights do and I see how cool it looks? Yes. I just don't know how well it translates to a photo. That's where it's
Right.
like for video, it looks pretty cool both ways, right? But again, it makes sense because it's movement. With a photo, that's it. You know, I've capsulated this weird shape on her face and, you know, on her dresses. And like, it just doesn't give the same romantic feel. Does it, you know, again, it just really is our preference, right?
But wholeheartedly agree, right? At Kirky's wedding, what we, and every wedding, the rule is always white lighting until 10:30, 11. Before that, always white or warm white. And then if we add color, is okay, we talk to the photo crew. We're like, guys, did you get the pictures you needed? We're going to add some color. All good with you because we need to spike it up a little bit, make sure it's a little bit more vibrant. Yeah, no problem. Got everything I needed. Pow. It goes back to working as a team because my job is not just to deliver the party. My job is to make sure the wedding is a phenomenal success. And that includes the photo, that includes the video, that includes the planner, that includes the caterer or the kitchen, that includes the photo booth people, that includes absolutely everybody. Is we come together, we work as a team, and you understand, like, okay, they have a priority to capture the best angles for their video, and they want to capture the action, they want to mic it up, they want to connect to your speakers so they can get high quality audio, so be ready with your wires, right? From a photo perspective, you want to get clear pictures. From a caterer perspective, the food has to come out on time. The salad can get warm or cold, but the pasta can't get cold. The steak can't get cold, and it has to cook right. So you have to make sure your dance floor is seated by the time the kitchen is ready. Everything has to be coordinated. So you can't be selfish. You have to be collaborative. And at the end, it's paid back to you, right? Because then when you ask the videographer to, hey, I'm about to do a CO2 shot, go on the other side so you can get all the action. And the next thing you know, the next day you get the clip and you're like, yes, I got it, right? You work as a team. So the client is happy, the vendors are happy, but the outcome is much better because you worked as a team rather than selfishly.
And I think too, with that event, like I felt like there was just a lot, right? Like there was a lot of moving pieces. It was a busy day. And I laugh because we've had Jeff on the podcast since then. And I remember going up to him and I thought it was pretty abrasive, but I've actually listened back to the audio that I said and it was fine. I wasn't too mean, but it's like, there's not a lot of time for us to be like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, where are you guys from? Like, I have none of that, right? Like, it's just like, hey, turn your lights off, you know, like, you know, because I just sometimes don't have time. So that for me is something I know I need to work on. Is just like, I need to just like give myself time, you know, but sometimes it's hard. Or I get DJs where it's like, they don't want to listen to me, right? And they'll, you know, literally the second I turn around, they've got all the green and purple lights going on all over the room again. And you're like, how many times do I have to tell you? Like, you know, so it's hard because that's our impression, is working with the people that gave us such a hard time, right? So when I say, I don't say this lightly, like when we worked together, it was so refreshing because even though we gave you a hard time, you were like, you know what? I see their point of view. and I want to make the best of this situation. And we do really appreciate that, because sometimes it's like, it's hard, right? We're all trying to do a certain job.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I do have to work on that. And I hope I wasn't mean.
You were nowhere near mean, and we understand. Like you're at the event, it's showtime, right? It's not. It's showtime. Respect is the number one priority, and so as long as that line is never crossed, you're nothing is taken badly, right? We're there to perform. We're there to do a show. Egos are always at the door when you walk in. You focus on the product that you're trying to deliver and the experience you're trying to create, and okay, we're there to work as a team. It's, if you've ever been a part of a sports team, that's what a sports team does. Like you leave everything at the door, and then you come in and you perform together. It doesn't matter if you're a striker or a wing or a defenseman or a goalie. Like you just play the role that you're supposed to play, and you play together. And then you focus on the outcome.
And I think a lot of that comes with experience, right? And having that mentality, because I'm sure you've been at weddings where certain vendors didn't have that, or maybe they're just newer and they just didn't know, the respect of other vendors that are there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some crazy stuff too.
We've seen a lot of things. When
you're doing 50 events or more, right?
Yeah,
like that's you're plus the corporate ones. I mean, I can't even imagine. But I think the hardest part for us is that we have to then go home and put something together, right? So we're thinking like that. When I go to put this together, is it going to look like shit? Like that's literally what we're trying to do and trying to avoid. And so for us in our minds, we're not really thinking about what it feels like right now. We're like, how is it going to look like later?
And you're the only one, right? You're the only vendor that has to do after event work. So when you ask for something on the day of the event is because you will literally have a hard time after the event when it's done, and you won't be able to deliver. Whereas we can pivot, right? Like if I turn my lights off for 2 hours during cocktail, it will not impact the evening, right? Like I will, after when the pantsing starts, I go and I turn everything on and party on, man. It's going.
Nobody will remember.
Nobody will be like, oh, the lights were off during the cocktail, right?
No.
Or
no,
but you will. And so that's why it's important we work as a team. But experience has so much to do with it. We see a lot of vendors come in to events and we see all kinds of levels of experience. And I feel where experience is really, really important is not doing the job itself, but handling these curveballs. Because like you said, you've got your AI template, and you can go in and just be at the right place and take the pictures and then put them in the template, and then AI will take care of the editing, and now you've got the pictures. But what happens when you've got a DJ that's not listening to you, right? Or you're having a hard time with the venue and they're pushing back on you because you want to take the couples outside for sunset pictures and they want to serve their pasta, and things are blowing up in your face. So these curveballs is where experience comes in handy, because you've seen these happen so many times that you know exactly the steps to take to solve that curveball. And that's, I feel, where the more experience you have and the right type of experience, the more valuable you have, even with everything that's advancing, whether it's AI or social media or vendors coming onto the scene that are innovating and changing the way things are happening. There's still a huge value associated with experience.
We should talk about some tools, though.
Yeah. Tools that you use for your business. I'm curious. What do you use to kind of, I mean, maybe it's Mireille, but...
She is the tool.
Yeah.
Mireille is the tool.
Yeah.
No, but just like, I don't know if you have like a CRM or what you use online. How do you make life easier for your clients or for yourself?
We're very basic. Like no pun intended.
Back to basics.
Back to basics. we're very basic. Excel is something we use. We have different softwares for CRM, for accounting. But I think the most important tool in our arsenal has been marketing tools. So whether it's how do we optimize our SEO, how do we optimize our SMO, how do we optimize our social media campaigns, and relying on people that have the expertise. So I guess the best tool we have is the people that we either contract or that are part of the team that know what they're doing and they do it best. So everything that we try to do, we always go for the best person fit to do that. So whether it's lighting, well, we go and we contract the best lighting designer in Montreal to come and help us with our lighting setups. How do you move certain lights, which lights to buy? So we rely on their experience. For our rebrand that we did last year, we hired a brand designer from Argentina that is one of the best in the world that helped us with the rebrand. So it's finding the right resource that you can hire instead of doing things yourself that you can just offload that effort to, and then they can deliver something you would have never been able to reach on your own. I would say that's the best tool we have.
I love that. I like that. I like the idea of hiring. We've been burned a lot in hiring things.
Yeah.
So that's why we're a little bit hesitant, even though we've paid good money for things. We've definitely been burned. We're definitely more on the DIY side for a lot of the stuff that we do on the website and the marketing side, because we've done a lot of stuff. We've put a lot of eggs in those baskets, and it's never paid off. Yeah, never hatched.
I've never heard of anyone that has not been burnt.
Yeah.
Especially on like the web dev, the web design, the marketing, or hiring people for social media. And I don't know if that's because our expectations are too high.
Could be.
Right? Or we expect to be treated the way we treat our clients, which you'll always end up disappointed, right? Like, honestly, because and unless you meet somebody that's crazy to treat their clients the way we treat our clients, then you'll always be disappointed. So I don't know if it's a function of that, or there's actually a lack in the market, or maybe we're just talking to the wrong people.
All right. Last but not least, how can people find you? What's the best way to get in touch with Back to Basics if they want to have the ultimate party on their wedding day?
Yeah, it's Instagram at BTBMTL. So that's Back to Basics MTL for Montreal, or website www.btbmtl.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. This has been amazing.
Hey, this has been an honor. Thank you for having me.
We're so much fun.
Yeah, and we're really looking forward to hopefully some maybe 2025 hanging out.
I hope so.
I would love that.
I was trying to get something for this year, but it didn't work out. But hopefully for next year, we're going to get to party together.
Yeah, and I know you're busy up till December 31st. But
next year is the 10-year Grey Loft anniversary.
I know.
It would be.
If it's okay with you guys, I'd like to extend our services pro bono to DJ the 10-year anniversary party.
Oh my goodness!
And we'll come all the way here, and we'll rock the boat with you guys.
Yeah, we'll party at the house.
Yeah,
we actually got married here.
Here? No, this house.
This house.
Right outside?
Like here,
in the
awesome.
front porch. Yeah.
You put a tent up?
No. We just did it in our
we
garage.
had hay bales actually as seats.
Are you kidding me?
In our lawn, and we were just like, please don't rain.
We planned our wedding in 2 weeks, though. Let's just put that out there. We just wanted to have a party, basically get married and have a party. And so we literally just did everything in like out in the driveway.
Spotify playlist?
We had a DJ.
We had a DJ.
DJ Pedro.
Yeah, it was good. It was actually really fun. But it was just, we wanted to get married, you know? We're like,
that's awesome.
We didn't want to do the big thing because we do that all the time. But yeah,
So 10-year anniversary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Call us. We'll bring the crew here. Kirky will be here, and we'll rock
We'll have to start planning it now.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine all our clients?
Are you kidding me? Everybody, all the vendors, everybody.
That'd be so fun.
Chateau Laurier, everybody here.
Oh my gosh.
They would probably donate a room.
Maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Put something together.
In March usually is our anniversary. It would be March.
March, it's even low season. Perfect time. I'm in.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. I love it.
Are we finishing each other's
sentences?
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? No, you guys are awesome.
Does he do this all the time? Yeah. No. She's like giggling. I love it.
You guys are awesome.
Oh, thanks so much.
Us. Appreciate it.
Turning heads with their flash, wedding photographers capturing love in a flash, taking shots like paparazzi. They're a dynamic duo, posing couples like models on their love they bestow. Shooting weddings, they got the perfect frame. Look behind the lens while Bethany brings the flame, capturing every moment. They never miss a beat, freezing time, making memories that are oh so sweet.